Helen Smallbone is an author, co-founder of Mum Life Community, and a podcast host on Access More. She's also the mother of 7 and grandmother to 14. A few of her children include Rebecca St. James, and for king and country singers, Joel and Luke Smallbone. Even though the Smallbone family has known great success, times weren't always easy. During their toughest trials, they learned to work together to not only survive, but thrive. In her book, Behind the Lights, Helen shares their inspirational journey, encouraging you to always trust God, regardless of what you're facing.
Helen, welcome to 700 Club Interactive. We are so happy to have you with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. This is such a great pleasure.
So now, you came to Christ at the young age of 13. Tell us about your experience at the Billy Graham Crusade, if I'm correct.
Yeah, my dad, I'm a pastor's kid, so we grew up in the church. And our family, well, actually the church was being involved with the Billy Graham Crusade, and I was part of the choir. And when Billy gave his message, I realized I don't think I'd ever really made that choice for myself to become a Christian. And so I went down, and that was really the start of obviously we all have a journey, and our journey hopefully is growing in Jesus and then in our faith. And that was the beginning of a progressive growth. We ended up having, I had a renewal experience a couple of years later, and really deepened my faith. And then God, as I invested in my relationship with Jesus through reading, Bible reading and devotionals, I really grew stronger. And that's really been my life journey, is growing in Him.
What a journey it's been. Now, your husband, David, broke into the music business in Australia after some success. What happened?
We were in concert promotion, and he managed his brother's band Family in Australia, which was a gospel music band. And then we were also doing albums. He distributed records in Australia as well as recorded them. And we were promoting a tour in 1989 and 1988, I think. And then he basically lost $250,000 on that tour. And we knew it was going to be major life change. And then in 1989, another door closed where he would have been able to market Christian music in Australia, a recording at Hills CLC. And then he had the opportunity of coming to America that we were pursuing to work and manage a small record company, a praise and worship record company for Carmen, who we had a really good relationship with. And then that door closed. And then we realized, wow, okay, where's God taking us on this journey? Because he couldn't see any other way out. So he ended up coming to America and finding that a management job with another Christian artist here in Nashville. And we used the tickets for the family that Carmen had actually bought for us, and came here in 1991, basically with we were 6 kids. We had 6 kids. I was pregnant with number 7, and I had 16 suitcases, which was the max we were allowed to come with. And there started a new journey that we had just had to rely on God to provide for us, because most people, when they do a big change like that, they've actually got a nest egg that they can lean into, that'll make them survive for a couple of years. We basically had nothing. We were living hand to mouth.
Wow. Well, let's turn to your daughter, Rebecca. She was signed by Forefront Records at the young age of 16. How did you guys as a family navigate that decision?
We had actually started that process in Australia. She did support act for Carmen actually when she was 13, after having been noticed that she could sing in her local Christian school, and was put into a Christian rock band there. And then when she was 14, David, we knew the birth in Australia of praise and worship music really in its early days. And so we got her to record a small album of praise and worship songs that came from that church. And then we brought that to America. So we'd sort of been inkling that way for a while. And I think David had thought that this could be a possibility down the line. And then when we had doors closed here in America as well, he lost his job with that, managing that artist after 2 months. He did manage another artist, but he knew he had to sort of create something new and fresh for himself. And that's when he started shopping Rebecca around with the album that we'd record in Australia. And that started to open doors. And yes, when she did get signed by Forefront, I think in 1993, and then her album came out at 1994 when she was just 16 years old.
Wow. Speaking of her, we guys know your last name is Smallbone, but this is Rebecca St. James. So what's the story behind the stage name?
It's actually a really, really sweet story. So Eddie DeGamo, who signed Rebecca, he was the A&R for Forefront Records. He had a fairly distinctive surname, DeGamo, and he had said to Rebecca, and to David, Smallbone is an unusual name. It actually sounds like an American Indian name and something that you don't catch easily. And I had a distinctive name. And my advice, if it was my daughter who was going into music, would be not to use her surname. And Rebecca was offended, first up, and he said, listen, what about, we need to keep it into the English-sounding sort of name so that you're set apart, you're a bit different. What about Rebecca St. John? And she was like, you just can't pull a name from anywhere and say, okay, this is your new name. And so we went to both our parents, my parents and David's mum, and we said, what's a family name that we might be able to use? And it was David's mum who came and said, you know, my husband, David's father, died not long before. And she said, what about if you use James? And in memory of her grandfather. And when that happened, it was like a light wave. It was like, this is right. This is good. I can wear this name because it's my grandfather's name. And so that's how Rebecca St. James came. And I think it was a gift. Eddie did give her a gift. It helped her have her own sort of family identity in a way, and then her persona, stage persona.
Makes a lot of sense. Have to talk about your other two children, also Christian music scene members themselves. What's the backstory behind For King and Country?
Well, when Rebecca started going on the road, by then we had started working together as a family, doing odd jobs. We were raking lawns, mowing lawns, cleaning houses. That was putting food on the table. And we'd so become reliant on being with each other that once she started touring, we knew we couldn't be separated. So David thought, well, I've got these 5 boys, free labor. What about if we all travel together and they learn how to support Rebecca, how to set up the stage, how to set up the lights, the sound. And that's what we did. And it just continued and continued. Joel, at age 12, ended up becoming stage manager, as well as he started doing background vocals for Rebecca. Wasn't that happy about it to start with, but once he got on the stage, I don't think he ever wanted to leave. So he's been there since then. And then Luke had started doing some background vocals as well. And then when Rebecca, Joel especially knew that God was leading him into music. And then David had a very unenviable task of saying, I don't think you can do it on your own. What about you bring Luke in and you do it as a duet? And so Luke then came in and they did support background vocals for Rebecca, and then they did the opening for Rebecca for continued concerts. And that's really where Joel and Luke started to do the grind. They say it takes 10,000 hours to really own skills in whatever job you're in, and those were the boys' 10,000 hours in supporting Rebecca.
Oh, beautiful. Real quick, I know you devoted your life to empowering moms everywhere. How have you been doing that?
Well, about 5 years ago, a younger lady mum and myself set up Mum Life Community. And then a couple of years ago, we were given the opportunity to do a podcast with Access More. And my heart and passion is for mums and the family. Mums have the hardest job on the planet. They're probably the most unrecognised of any. And I just want to pour in this latter season of my life. I want to encourage and pour into younger mums through the opportunities that God gives me.
Beautiful. You're an amazing mom yourself. Helen, thank you so much for joining us today. I want to remind you at home that the book is called Behind the Lights. It's available wherever books are sold.
Hello, I'm Gordon Robertson. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more encouraging videos like this one. Welcome to the 700 Club Interactive family, and God bless you.